Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is a fun game. It turned out to be a fun game. Gotham Knights is one of the latest from the Arkham series. So far, there's about 4 Arkham games with Batman. Then there's Arkham Knights, and then afterwards there's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. The games are a lot of fun. I'm not sure where they're going after that. Seems like they're moving away from Batman a bit. In these videos, I plan to go over story, what happened in the game, and what that artist, the group of artists, the artist, the writer was trying to say with that work of art. So it's not just the plot. It's what does that mean? What are they trying to say with that? And Arkham Knight, Gotham Knights, is worth going over. The story starts out with a fight between Ra's al Ghul and Batman. And it's not a normal Ra's al Ghul. He's green. You can tell something's off with him. He's a little enhanced by mist, which means that he likely climbed out of the Lazarus pit. In the DC stories, the lore is Ra's al Ghul has various Lazarus pits around the world. And he's up to stuff. And sometimes he dies. But the League of Shadows brings him back to life by dipping him in the Lazarus pit. A green, volcanic hot spring. And he rises from it. He walks right back out of it, a little bit crazier. He's not quite himself. His memories aren't fully there. And right from the start, what's really interesting is that Ra's al Ghul, right out of the Lazarus pit, goes to talk to Batman or fight Batman. That could mean two things. Either Ra's al Ghul really trusts Batman, or he hates Batman for turning his back on him. There's two ways that can go. Personally, I think it's what happens with the Lazarus pit is, from what I've seen, is that it's good to have someone that you trust waiting for you. They always pick some sort of, I wouldn't call it violence, but a smack to wake someone up out of whatever haze or fog they were in. And I think it's neat story-wise if Ra's al Ghul, above anyone else in the world, trusts Batman the most and said, okay, I need help with this. I think that's so neat story wise. Because in this story, Batman is Batman because of Ra's al Ghul. He learned how to fight and all that stuff, not from Alfred. He went to go train with the League of Shadows. So his mentor is now in need of help, which is what this story is. Kind of. But what happens is that apparently this time the Lazarus Pit Ra's al Ghul is too strong and he actually kills Batman. Batman actually dies in this story. And after he dies, he sends out a video message to all of his sidekicks and Alfred. They get his death message, which is a type of, I'm proud of you, you're doing a good job. Don't forget I'm Batman. That sort of thing. And they spend the entire game not only mourning Batman, but trying to figure out what happened to him. So it takes them down this detective story, this winding route. One other thing that I thought was interesting was that all of the sidekicks are orphans in this game. They even made Barbara an orphan with Jim Gordon. Now, I think, now Jim Gordon, usually not fun, but when you look at him, he's already got a mustache like he's an older dad. And in the cartoon, I think his brown mustache turned gray eventually. So he's slowly getting older and older every time that Jim Gordon pops up. But yeah, that's something interesting that they wanted with this story. They wanted the sidekicks to parallel Batman so closely that they lost their families. They actually want the group to walk through his footsteps. Batman's team, the sidekicks, they end up finding a winding road of detective work. It starts with them finding a handful of criminals from Arkham are being released early when they shouldn't. So they end up encountering Mr. Freeze, Clayface, and Kurt Langstrom, the Man-Bat. And I think he's the most interesting. In this story, those characters have their arcs, or they have their place. But what happens is the winding road eventually leads to the Court of Owls. And it says that the Court of Owls took it as their responsibility, or they needed something. And they decided that those few were better off causing trouble. Um, from there, it's a little different because I have my own opinions on the Court of Owls in Snyder's writing. People enjoy Scott Snyder's writing, and he he takes more of a horror slant. So I have to take it with a grain of salt when I see it. It's that what bugs me is the idea of taking a new character or a new idea and placing it so steeped into the lore. It hugs the story so closely that it automatically becomes part of the story. People aren't allowed to judge it the same way and decide if they like it or not and put distance on it. The Court of Owls is a secret society from before or at the beginning of Gotham. It's basically a bunch of the rich elite class who built Gotham. Also built a secret society where they ran around town looking like Batman. And it baffles me that people would want a character that was Batman before Batman. There's inspirational characters, the Great Ghost, for example. Batman looked up to a handful of characters. He taught under Ra's al Ghul. He went and trained with Zatanna. He looked up to her and her dad. Alfred. There's a lot of dignity with Alfred. But the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls is, I don't know. But it puts contrast. What's good about it is that it puts contrast in the story. Because it makes the Waynes look different. And people, even with the latest Batman movie, people play with that. They say, oh, the Waynes weren't so shiny. I think having the Court of Owls around makes the Waynes look, no matter what story you write, they look a little more shiny. They seem to be the wealthiest house in Gotham. They have a giant building with their name on it. And they were doctors. Well, Thomas Wayne was a doctor. Martha, I forgot. She did philanthropy and helped with the hospital. They keep writing a story where she needed mental health. But yeah, the Waynes are shiny. When the other not League of Shadows, the other Court of Owls seem to spend their wealth to protect themselves and stay rich in Gotham. They run around and I don't know. They're basically guarding old money and whatever sort of idea or whim that they'd like. They have their way, and that's a big difference between. There is a big difference between that and going to go do surgery at the hospital as often as you can. Um, I don't know, Snyder. I'm going to say good job on the contrast, but at the same time, now that story is part of Batman lore. There's lore that has a Batman before Batman. I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it. But moving on, the next part of the story has certain things happening with the Court of Owls. You meet them, you fight them, and you see that the Court of Owls is interested in a serum from Kurt Langstrom, the Man Bat. Also, they're interested in a serum that contains stuff from the Lazarus Pit. So they're dealing with longevity. The entire story is about people who want to live forever and hold on to power. So what happens is that the League of, not the, I keep saying the League of Shadows, the Court of Owls, they have a neat design, by the way. The Court of Owls is focused on longevity, which really ties into who they are as a group, since they're old money. They're the founders of Gotham. And they've gotten old. I think one of them is in a wheelchair. They're older people. And they fall on the side of, I guess, Batman's rogue gallery. So, by the end of the story, I'm going to jump straight to the end. By the end of the story, the character that you use, or the whole team, finds themselves in the Batcave looking for Batman. And you find him. And he's with Talia, which is fantastic, sort of. It's really interesting. So, Batman's journey this whole time seems to be the good one. He's alive and well with Talia, except for he took time in the Lazarus Pit. She brought him back to life. Her dad beat him to death. And then she brings him back to life and says, "No, Dad, I love him." That's who those two are. So it's interesting. Personally, the way that I would handle this story with Talia is that I would say no. And I think Batman belongs with Selena. I think Catwoman is a much better match. But there's always Talia. Talia is deeply in love with Batman. They train together. It's a really interesting story that they have with those characters, where he learns to be Batman through the League of Shadows. She falls in love with him. He falls in love with her to some degree. But he leaves to go be Batman. And Ra's al Ghul says, "There's no other man worthy of my daughter." There's no other man who can challenge me on this level but Bruce Wayne Batman. So those two have a certain mindset of, Bruce Wayne, you are the character who needs to stop playing around with whatever the heck you're doing. It's time to join the League of Shadows. But what does that mean if Ra's al Ghul needed help to get out of his mind storm? I don't think a League of Shadows Batman would have been able to help Ra's al Ghul in the same way of seeing reason. Moving forward, it happens within the game. Talia is hanging out with Batman out of the Lazarus pit, and he's crazy. He is absolutely crazy. And it takes your character showing up to fight him and snap him out of it. The same thing with Talia. It's not a horrible story. It's saying a few things. After that, Batman sees the Court of Owls. And they have their prize in front of them, which is the Lazarus pit. And Batman says no to it. He says no to the Court of Owls being able to live forever. And that's something that happens over and over in storytelling, is that oftentimes the villains prize longevity and living forever, which means that they're looking for a type of greed. It's a type of greed which says that I can have more than anyone or everyone, or I deserve more, which is the ego. And when the ego is acting up in that way, it's actually the shadow of the person. They're being dark. And in this story, I think Batman sees it. There's a contrast. He's standing there with one of possibly the love of his life, and he isn't thinking clearly. And then two people show up. And it's his Bat family. And his Bat family brings him back to who he's supposed to be. But if they hadn't shown up, it's possible that the Court of Owls would have. And I'd have to look it up, but they found some of the Lazarus pit to experiment on already. That might have been Talia. So by the end of the game, Batman, you're dealing with the story where Batman dies. You've got they drag you through it, and you get used to the idea. And then he actually sacrifices himself. And it's the type of thing that's saying, for your time spent with Batman as a sidekick, good job. Now he's in one of the biggest. He's in the biggest tank I've ever seen him in. So odds are he didn't die from it. But Batman picks his Bat family at the end, rather than endorsing a league of vampires. So, what is this story actually trying to tell me? I think it might be saying, don't be a vampire. If you have the choice, don't be an owl, be a bat. Don't wear a monocle and be old money. Be a philanthropist and try your best to heal the world or heal people. That's what the Waynes chose. I think this story wanted to underline who Batman was. It's not a bad story. So that's Gotham Knights. I'd say it is worth your time. It's another Arkham game. Well, that's my understanding of it. It's another Arkham game, and it's enjoyable.